Now, what is the one thing that's best about crafting? Keeping it simple, and that's one of my favorite ways to craft. So today I'm going to show you 5 crazy simple paint ideas that you can use in your crafting. So let's not waste any time and let's just get to it. First, I'm going to start with tearing a scrap piece of paper. This is a bit thicker paper, but you can use a regular printing paper as well. I'm just tearing off a piece, so I have a nice wonky line. Then I have a sponge and I add a bit of paint on that. Then I'm going to dab my sponge on the paper to spread the paint a bit. And then I'm going to rub it on my card, starting with a little pressure, and then I lift the sponge, sort of. Then I pick my next color. I use the same sponge, I move the paper and I do the same. So I'm spreading the paint again, so it's divided on the sponge. And then I'm lightly swiping over that edge of the paper, starting on my torn paper and working my way towards the card. And I'm not using much pressure because I don't want really thick paint lines. I want a bit of a grungy look. And I'm doing the same with the yellow, also starting on the torn paper and wiping it on the card, starting with a bit of pressure and then just lifting that sponge when I'm just over the edge of the torn piece. And for the cool colors I'm going to pick a new sponge, so I'm starting with the green and I'm doing the same, wiping it on my card with a light bit of pressure. And because I'm using the same sponge with the different colors, you get a bit of a blended look, which is also cool because, well, the colors combine really well this way. Then I'm going to add some more color to that white edge because you know me, I don't like white edges. And this gives you a really cool grungy background. For the next technique, I have drawn a butterfly on a double folded piece of paper and I'm going to cut that out. So this gives me a nice butterfly shape, so the positive and the negative. I'm adding the mask part to my card and I'm using some tape to keep it in place. I've added some paint on an acrylic block and I pounced my dauber in it to load that sponge. And then I just start pouncing on the card. And this will create a really fun and layered look, making this a super simple and cool way to make a colored background. Then I'm taking my second color and I'm filling in that shape a bit. And for contrast I'm adding a bit of orange-yellow color. Now this is just playing with the colors. You can also use a butterfly picture for some color reference to give you an idea or to give you an example. And once I've filled the complete shape, I'm going to take off the mask and then put the butterfly aside to dry. And now I'm going to add some lines around the shape and also around the colors. And I'm kind of following the shape, but not completely, so I have some white here and there. And I think this will add to the playful look of the butterfly. Now my colors are a bit wonky and uneven, so it's not the same on both sides. And if you want a bit more of a realistic butterfly, then you can draw some shapes before you start adding the paint to help you stay on track. Then I have the cutout butterfly, I add that on my card and I'm going to make some splats. You don't have to do this, I like splats, so I'm doing it. And if you make your card, you can just skip this part if you hate splats. I know there are people who don't like splats, which is cool. And I finished my butterfly with a wonky body that totally fits the complete quirky look of this fantasy butterfly shape. I think it's quite cute, in a bit of a strange way. I like it. And this next one is a really cool one. So I have a piece of acetate and on that I'm going to add some paint dots in different colors. So I'm using 3 different colors. And the orange is there just for support, I'm not using that one. And then I pick a brush, it's a dry and a clean brush. I'm going to hold a piece of acetate down with one hand. Then I'm going to brush the paint to the outside and this look is so incredibly cool. It's also fun to do and it's pretty fast as well. So I'm going to use my pointy tool to lift the piece of acetate, so I'm not going to smudge anything. And well, there you go, a really colorful background and that needs a bit of drying. And after drying I'm going to do something fun to the middle part. And it's a bit wonky, but that's totally fine. I'm going to add some black dots along the complete inside. You can use a ruler as well if you want to. I like my line a bit wonky. So I'm going to go all around the inside to add my dots. And then I have a fine liner that's a bit color reddish pink that I used. And I'm going to connect the dots. Just go from one dot to the next. And this look is so cool. It looks like it's stitched, but it isn't. And I think this is a really cool way to add some details to a card or well, any other project. Now, while you are crafting, make sure to give yourself some space to think and craft outside the box because it's fun. And after those few words of encouragement, let's check out some more techniques. So next I have a pile of flowers that I cut in different sizes, all the same shape. And I'm going to lay them out on my card. I'm going to glue my flowers in place with non-permanent adhesive, and I'm using photo glue, also called rubber cement. And this way they will stay put for as long as I need them to, and it makes it also easy to remove them later on. And once I have them all in place, I've added some paint to my acrylic block. And then I'm going to use a sponge applicator and a blending tool. And I'm just going to press the blending tool in the paint. And then I'm going to pounce on the card. Just bouncing around the shapes and on the card and turning my tool while I'm pouncing. So not when I have it down on the paper, but when I'm in the air in between the pounces. In between pounces, I'm just turning my tool. So I get some color variation and I like that effect. I think it gives you a really interesting cloudy effect almost. And once I have my complete background colored, then I'm going to add a bit of that darker blue color around the edges. Just bouncing on the edges, the same as I did to color that complete background. And once the complete background is done, I'm going to pick my pointy tool again and then I'm going to lift those flowers. I like to take them off pretty much straight away so they don't stick to the sides if there's too much paint on the sides of the flowers. And once I have all my flowers removed, I have a nice colorful background with some really cool bright white flowers on it. And now another super cool technique. I have 4 colors paint on my acrylic block and I'm mixing them with water. I started mixing them with a brush, but I want them to be a little bit more separate. So I'm going to use a toothpick to mix the colors with the water to dilute them a bit more. And I'm mixing them separately. Then I have a little glass bowl and I'm pressing that in the paint. Then I'm going to pick up that bowl and I'm going to press the bowl on my card, making a colorful circle. Then I'm taking a paintbrush with water on it and I'm going to paint the inside of the circle, moving those colors from the outside to the inside. And this gives you a really cool look because it really looks like a soap bubble. And this is a super cool way to use up your leftover paints and make a colorful background as well. Next I have an empty tape roll, which is a tiny bit smaller. Adding some different size circles also adds to the fun look of a design. And then I'm going to pick a dauber, and it's always cool to have some variation in size as well as in color. Now when you have a little smudge like I have on that big circle, you can just add some clean water, dilute the smudge, and like I told you before, I like some splats. You can stop anywhere you like. I'm adding some splats here with one of the colors that's on the palette, so it fits nicely in the color scheme. And this makes another really cool background, and this technique is also great to use in art journals. This will be so cool. You can even build a galaxy with it. Now we hope you like to keep it simple too, so have some fun trying out these techniques, and as always, make sure to keep on crafting.